see you across the room, talking to some man. I love your mannerisms, babe. The way you handle them, oh, I'm so proud to be with you. So attracted to you too. You're so damn good to me in everything you do, 'cause I am so oh, I'm so in love.
1 minute.
I'm so in love. Oh, baby, I'm listen, I'm so in love with you that I can't.
Valencia.
It won't let me show my picture. It says it won't let me. You cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Try now.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, we're going live in.
It won't let me show my picture.
As soon as you hear the prompt, okay?
As soon as I hear the what? Okay.
Well, let's right now. There's an echo on your end. Do you have both computers on?
I have both computers on, but I have the volume turned off on that. Is the you hear echo still?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Well, let's right now.
I can't. I only hear echo for you, but I don't hear it for me.
We're good.
Okay, thank you. Hello and welcome. I am Valencia Porter, and I'm the Director of Community Affairs and Lifetime Membership for the Metro New York chapter of the National Black NBA. On behalf of our chapter president, Norville Barrington, and my fellow chapter board members, I would like to extend a hearty welcome to you, our event tonight, Fashion's New Normal. After nearly 2 years of living through a pandemic, in many ways, many of us are doing business, going to work, possibly working out, and interacting with one another, especially our colleagues, has changed significantly. The reality is that what is in our closet doesn't match the new you during and post-COVID. So tonight, we will seek to explore this topic, we hope in a fun and exciting way during our chat with my panelist, Ms. Jacqueline M. Jenkins, MBA. Jacqueline will tell you more about herself and her journey, but I would like to give a brief overview of her accomplishment. Jacqueline Jenkins is a Wharton MBA graduate with a passion for supporting dynamic women while they pursue their professional and personal life in style and abundance. She is the founder and chief curator of Sophisticated Curation, an online community for the savvy fashionista. Through content, commerce, and collaboration, Sophisticated Curation works to bring recognition and styling services for the often overlooked 40 million American women over age 40 who are avid fashion consumers. She is also the producer and host of the 20-Minute Fashion Distraction, a weekly fashion talk show with over 80 shows completed. After spending over 20 years working in corporate finance and pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors, Jacqueline decided that her next career act would be that to do what she loves is fashion. This path has led Jacqueline, who is an author of a textbook on fashion and global supply chain, to be a higher education leader focused on access to education and innovation in the fashion sector. During her career in fashion, Jacqueline has worked for Ann Taylor Incorporated and served as a consultant to fashion brands and related industry. Interesting fact, Jacqueline, who is originally from Philadelphia, got her first fashion job in high school modeling for the department store Abraham and Strauss, and was a fashion fair counter girl during her winter breaks from college. Prior to earning her MBA from the prestigious Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, Jacqueline earned her BA in economics from Spelman College. Plus, she is an active member of Delta Sigma Theta and the Penn Alumni Society. Jacqueline, we welcome you. Thank you for joining us tonight. To get started, I know we have a lot to cover tonight. So let's first start. How did you decide to develop the 20-minute fashion distraction?
Well, first, Valencia, I just want to say thank you so much for you and for the National Black MBA for even bringing forth this topic, not only something that I love, but something that I think is very needed as we think about our post-COVID days. So the 20-minute fashion distraction, it actually came about. I went to Paris Fashion Week in the February of 2020. And if you remember the timeline, the world kind of shut down pretty much that like early March. And I was so excited after spending a week of looking at fashion shows and all this wonderful content that I was looking forward to sharing, that I sat in my apartment and said, well, what do I do with it? And that's when this idea came up. The 20-minute fashion distraction is literally 20 minutes every Wednesday night at 8:30. We live stream it on Facebook Live. You can go to the Sophisticated Curation page. And funny fact, the reason why it's 20 minutes is because I don't know if everybody remember when we first were we were actually having problems with our internet. And so I figured the most that I could safely do a show over the internet would actually be 20 minutes. So it became the 20-minute fashion distraction.
Oh, very good. Very good. That was a very novel way to get people to pay attention. I really like that. Let me do a little housekeeping. What I need to say is to our guests, we thank you for joining us tonight. We invite you to post your questions in the chat line and so that we can answer them. And feel free to ask the questions. Don't be nervous because no one's going to see you. But if you would like to join us, we may, depending on time, be able to invite you to come in and you can get some of your questions answered directly from our panelists tonight. So please post your questions there. And I want to also say to everyone, please keep looking out and follow us on LinkedIn, all the social medias, the Metro New York chapter, because we have several really great events coming. And we'll probably have a part 2 to this fashion event as well. And you don't want to miss the coming up next episode of this. So Jacqueline, you created the 20-minute fashion distraction, and then you have sophisticated curation, and now you're working in education. So tell us a little bit more.
So I started my career actually in finance, and I still pride myself being a finance person. But I've always loved fashion. And so a lot of what I was doing in finance, like when I was at corporate finance, I did corporate finance for Ann Taylor. That's when I started really thinking about supply chain and costing and the creative side of it. And through a journey of, I guess, like 10 years ago, I decided to leave finance and I went into higher ed in fashion. And one of the roles that I played was actually creating new graduate programs focused on fashion. And one of them happened to be in supply chain. And what was interesting when I was looking at the curriculum to actually figure out the program, I realized that there were a ton of books on how to buy petroleum or how to do medical healthcare stuff, but there really wasn't anything that talked about the fashion supply chain. And for all my supply chain folks out there, you know that supply chain is very dependent upon calendar projections. But if you think about fashion, it's so trends-based that there's just so many new things in terms of how you want to think about not only what to buy, but when to buy it. And so it created this opportunity to actually start a degree on fashion supply chain. And then I wrote the book, Fashion and the Supply Chain, which goes through everything from content to consumer in terms of actually the supply chain.
Oh, very good. Yes, so we know that we're having a supply chain issue in our country now with everything going on. So that book is right on time.
Yes.
So how can fashion impact your brand, your image? Why is that such a big thing? We are at home, we are working off the Zoom, we're exercising online. How can that? And a lot of times I know at my office, we have a gym that's going. So how can fashion play a role in your brand and who you are and what it says about you?
So for me, fashion has always been a way to express how I'm feeling and how I want others to receive me. And so when you think about your personal brand, you want to think about, and Valencia and I spent a lot of time talking about this as we were preparing for the session. You want to think about professionally, where do you want to go? And how do you actually want to look to get there? And so when you think about fashion, and we're going to spend some time looking at some trends from this past fashion week, but what I tend to do is really use the fashions that I'm wearing to create a presence. Signature looks are important. One of the things that you want to keep in mind is how people will remember you. For the longest, one of my signature looks were scarves, which I still play around with in terms of actually creating a difference in my look. So you want to think about how you want your brand to be represented. I shared that I started my career in finance. And so in finance, I wore, and I'm dating myself, but it was 20 years ago. So I wore the traditional blue, it wasn't even pants, they were skirt sets, and it was, they were horrible looking. But with every suit, I always wore a colorful scarf. And that was my way to, one, create an opportunity for individuals to have conversations with me, because they kind of became these conversation pieces. And then secondly, that just kind of became my signature look. So as we go through tonight, we're going to talk about how you may want to think about what things can you do with fashion to really enhance how people may remember and see you.
Yes, I have someone just chimed in. And she said the personal branding is so important. Style is how you communicate to the world. And I would certainly agree. I am preparing, I work in finance as well. And in corporate America, and even I've worked for nonprofits, I can run across women who just kind of have given up on fashion. And whatever's comfortable, I wear. And I want to say, I'm hopeful that is something that women don't give up. There's a style that you can get that is comfortable and it does commute. And as we discussed and prepare for it, you want your supervisor to trust that you can carry the message forward with the brand that you're emoting with your style. That's what I agree with you on that.
And some of the reasons why you may hear someone say that they kind of have given up on that is, it may be hard to find what they're looking for in stores, right? And so one of the things that I really encourage people to think about are, what are the brands that work well with your body type? Follow those particular brands. We're going to look at different trends. And, the thing about trends, they're great for inspiration, but you want to remember, how do they fit and feel and look on you, right? And then secondly, my motto on shopping is never shop when you need something. Always kind of keep your eye open so that you have the right looks in your closet. And I'll say, as a working professional, there's just some core basics that you want to have in your closet that will allow you to transition from day to work, or allow you to have that business meeting. For me, actually, what I am doing more this particular season, that's why I'm wearing a green leather piece, right? I want to have, and it's basically, it's a pretty conservative piece, but it's actually leather in this green. But for me, what I'm trying to do is create more color in my wardrobe, so that is becoming more and more my personal branding.
Okay, so are there some things that we should have in our closet that's maybe a staple item? Do they ever go out of style?
So there's definitely your timeless pieces. And what I would say, and I'm going to approach it from the professional, right? And as I work with women and they think about their style, first of all, I'd start talking about, what is it that you feel most comfortable in and how we build from there. But the core pieces that I keep in my closet, I keep I keep two pretty basic skirts. One is a pencil skirt, and one is more of an A-line skirt. And I do that because skirts allow you to kind of mix and match. Typically those pieces are in a black or a brown. I also keep a jacket. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how jackets, suiting is becoming more on trend, but I've always kept some type of jacket blazer and not just necessarily the button up one, but more one that you can either dress up or dress down, right? And typically I would say a white blouse and definitely a color, like the pink blouse that you have on right now, Valencia, is amazing. And it's a beautiful fabric that you can mix and match, right? And so those are basics that I would keep. And then I would also have some wow pieces. And for me, wow pieces are definitely my handbags. In addition to what I do with my shoes, I'm a big fan of, well, I don't know, COVID has made it hard to do heels, but I do play around, and you may see me in a very conservative pinstripe suit with a pair of leopard pumps. And that is just my way of adding a little wow, but still being conservative up top in how I do it. So the core pieces I would say would be your skirt, and definitely a pant. Actually, Kendra Porter, we was on the 20-minute fashion distraction last night. And one of the things that we talked about, she shared, was this whole idea of making sure that you have a great pair of black denim jeans, but fitted, but also a great color, because those are wonderful for dressing up and dressing down. So I would say those are some core pieces to have, and they're just timeless, right? Things
So
that
we
you
need a pinstripe skirt. We need an A-line skirt.
an A-line skirt, a pencil, I say pencil, but what I would say is to think about what fits best with your body. The reason why I say a pencil and kind of A-line, because that gives me two lengths to work with. So that allows me to do, if I wanted to do a boot with a skirt, I have an option, or if I just wanted to do a heel. And I'm not great with laying stuff out the night before. So it's key that I have my core pieces that I can pretty much get up and run and not be late for work.
Yes. Yes, that is so true. Because a lot of times I will run into people who, I met people that I swear black, I swear black, I swear black. And it's like, okay, there's other colors that we can infuse, and black is a great foundation, but we can infuse that. So thinking about the Fashion Week just ended in New York, what are some trends that you see that maybe you saw on the runway, and how did they get infused into the career life in today's fashion?
So can we do the video presentation on that, and I can kind of walk us through?
Yes.
And so I'm recapping Fashion Week that occurred in New York, London, Milan, and Paris. And what I just wanted to show were the looks that kind of stood out for me. But even before that, we're going to go to the slide where I talk about kind of just how do I use Fashion Week, right? And so, like I said, for me, that's me actually in my closet. What I tend to do is I look at the looks from Fashion Week for inspiration. A lot of what you'll see on the runway is very aspirational. It's very over the top, a lot of couture. But what it does, it inspires me to think about my particular look. And often after seeing, if here in New York, if I go to the shows in New York, it gives me something to aspire to and elevate my wardrobe. The other thing that I do with the trends from Fashion Week is I actually look to see the colors that are featured, just to kind of get a sense of, what colors are really in play this particular season. And then the other side of it too is just the accessories. And what I look at there are, are big bags in, or are we doing more of a small bag? Are we thinking about hats? It just kind of helps me to think about what are ways that I can mix up what's in my closet. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm a big fan of shopping my closet. And what has really helped me to shop my closet is to have those foundational pieces, but to look at things like the trends on Fashion Week and see, well, where might I want to add a piece or two or do something different with coloring. We're going to talk a little bit about this whole concept of how suits are back in play. And so now I'm thinking about, are there things that I can do to bring back my banker suits and still have them be very on trend and really fit in the lifestyle that I have.
Okay.
Yep.
So was there something you saw on the runway this year that really caught your eye? And by the way, that is a great picture of you. And I would be like, would it be acceptable to say that you're like the Black Carrie Bradshaw? This is a great
my gosh, that's so cute. I like to think I do think like her in terms of thinking about fashion. And as I was sharing, like, so my first real job was actually what I did in high school. And that was working at Abraham and Strauss on their junior fashion team. And I've always kept that mindset of just fashion is a way to change your mood, create presence, and have an image. It's just now as an adult, I actually have funds to actually create the wardrobe that I want. But the values that I had as a high schooler, they still held true. So in terms of what I saw that I love, so if you click to the next slide, this whole concept of suiting really hit me. And why I thought suits were so interesting and they showed up so much on the runway is if you think about, as Valencia shared, coming out of COVID, we were wearing sweatpants, or we were doing what I call the Zoom meetings where we were looking fabulous up top and maybe not so fabulous at the bottom. So if you think about this whole idea of suiting, it is almost a complete change of thought of how we're presenting ourselves. Suits, I like to think of bring a sense of power. The other thing I really like about the fact that suits are coming back is that we talked about presence, right? And so think about those power suits and what they do. But what I really like in that I saw on the runway is they're not the blue suits that I wore 20 years ago when I was in banking. If you look at these suits, they are vibrant in color. There were some really interesting materials in terms of, you see this first one where there's the rose pattern in between. The other thing that I saw in terms of the suits is just the whole return to classic, but maybe with a twist, right? And so I would encourage you to think about how you can incorporate suiting, especially as we're talking about some of our professional looks, right? The other thing, in Valencia, we didn't get to fully talk about this. I'm a big vintage shopper. And so I have started really looking at different vintage stops for suiting that will look like one suit that I'm really trying to find is I want a classic tuxedo suit for evening wear, right? Oh, yeah. And so suiting is definitely something that I was excited to see come back on the runway and just the colors that it is. So we can go to the next slide. So the other pieces that I saw more and more on the runway, we're talking about this whole concept. Like earlier when we started, we were talking about, well, what are your core and foundational pieces and why do you need them, this and that. But I love the fact that casual closet staples were showing up on the runway. So here's two images that I wanted to pull. I want to say this is from Milan. But the two staples, and Valencia kind of hit me on this, is first, denim will be very big. And where I'm going with that, it's just not like the regular jeans. It's everything from, we're seeing wide leg jeans are on the runway. But what I saw, and this last set of shows that just happened, that was fall, winter. What I saw were these really interesting pairings, right? To really dress up the look of the denim. So here, fringe is another thing that will be big. So she's wearing it with the fringe. But I love this whole idea of leather and leather really being a staple. And as you see, she's doing a jacket. Once again, the whole idea of suits, right? But she's mixed it with the long skirt, right? And so when you're thinking about some basics to have in your closet, do not forget about how fun leather can be. Actually, the leather that I'm wearing it's a faux leather. That was another thing that was very on trend on the runway. And the what I love about the faux leather is that you can do these really cool colors with it. And actually, if you go to the next slide, there was a slide on illumination with the yellow and right. Thank you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about
those pants. Oh.
We're going to talk a little bit about Pantone and the color for 2022. Yes. But the color, Pantone is the institute that defines a color for the year. And they do it based upon trends in the industry and kind of what has been projected. And it's interesting because the colors are also supposedly a reflection of what is going on in the world. Last year was the first time they've been doing this since 1999. Last year was the first time that they actually had two colors, right? And if you think about all the craziness that we were living through last year, it kind of fit, right? So one of the colors for last year was this yellow illumination. I almost kind of say this like Big Bird yellow because it's very vibrant, but they paired it with the almost like a slate gray. And what was interesting about that yellow and slate gray, and as you're thinking about your wardrobe and how you think about colors, right? Last year, we were kind of in this mindset of being hopeful, but there was still some thought about worry about where we were. And so the color kind of really reflected that in terms of Pantone. So, but that illumination is still a great color. And Valencia, you mentioned her pants here. This is kind of the whole nod to the nudes and the browns, terracotta, which was a great color on the runway this year, was seen a lot. And it's still, as you can see, there's definitely interest for more earthy tones, right? And that's just a kind of reflection of where we are and we're trying to be grounded, right? And so what I would say as you're thinking about, and this is kind of how I use colors that I see from Fashion Week and just trends in general, helping me to think, well, what do I want to do in my wardrobe, right? So for me, that full brown, that monochromatic brown probably wouldn't work great. But what I would do, actually, I would pair that with that brown and that illumination yellow, right? Because my skin tones have more of a red undertone, right? So I would want to pick up some of that yellow. So as you're thinking about colors in your wardrobe, definitely, looking at the trends to give you some ideas. And if we go to the next slide, we're going to go to
Can I just say this? Can I go back to that what I loved about those pants? They have pockets.
Yes.
Yes. And that's an easy outfit to put on. It's one of those things that I said, that's an easy, it's dressed up, but it's also an easy outfit. So you can be comfortable. So if you're that person that doesn't want to be in a structured suit, but you want to still be comfortable, this is an outfit you could take this inspiration from the runway. So I love those pockets. So
and and I'll say this, and this is something that we definitely touched on as we were preparing for tonight. It's important also to read the room, right? And think about where you are and kind of where you want to go and kind of how different looks will project that, right? I mean, I'm in a fairly casual environment for work. So I think that pant bottom could work, right? If I were still in my finance job, I probably wouldn't do that pant bottom. I may do that color with a more fitted in my hem. But so I think it's important to kind of read the room. The other thing too, and this has come up quite a bit as individuals have been transitioning from, sitting in front of Zoom and actually going to the office and realizing that some of the office looks have changed. And what I've encouraged people to do is to look at where and what your senior leadership are wearing, right? If you have aspiration of being, if you want to be in the C-suite, right? Kind of looking to see what the C-suite is doing, right? And so what I would say is look at what they're doing, but also add your signature look so they remember you. You don't want to be a copycat. You want people to remember you, but you do want to make sure that you're reading the culture of the environment that you're going to be in, right? So we can go to the next one. We're going to talk about our Very Perry,
Yes,
which is
this
the
is very
2020.
Perry.
It's a 2022 color for Pantone. And actually, Melissa, I thank you for putting that in the flyer. That picking up that Very Perry. So as you can see, it's not 100% vibrant, but it's also not very dull, right? And so I think it is a real reflection of where we are. I will say this, Very Perry probably is not a color that I would go for myself. And the reason being is because I tend to have more red undertones. So it probably would not be one for me. However, I would use the Very Perry as an accent. So I might have, if I were to do suiting, I might have a camisole or something that is the Very Perry. I could see doing an accent scarf in that color. I like what this middle model is doing, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, where she's kind of wearing a textured hose in the Very Perry. So that one could actually be very cool. But yeah, for me, the Very Perry would be more of an accent piece.
Mm-hmm. So the runways, it's not necessarily a staple item that you need to take, but take it as an inspiration. The items that you see on the runway, because they are a little bit over top a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, the fantasy life that I live in my head where I'm like living over the top all the time. Yes, I can exactly wear the runway looks. However, the reality life that I live, I've got to kind of tailor it a little bit more. But I do look to the runway for inspiration. And it also has been great for kind of challenging me to get out of my comfort zone, right? And actually, as I'm saying it, I mean, maybe I need to get out of my comfort zone and try Very Perry, because it's so different from what I normally would wear. And that's the other thing, like really challenging you to think different about how you look.
Let's say you want to infuse the color. What could you match it with? Because I see it as a rich color. And I also see it as a little masculine. So I do see it as a workable color that if you're not into that bright illuminated yellow or peacock yellow that was in the prior slide, but this is a color that is a bold, rich color that I think could work good in corporate America, as it, maybe you wouldn't have a whole suit that color, to go to work, but you could have sweater, you could have a shell. You're right. You could have a shell. You could have I could see it, a color, I could even see it as a blazer, as infused.
I mean, purple is that royalty, right? And so you're absolutely right. It's a great color for setting power and presence. I would love to see it with that gray and maybe a shell underneath as the shell underneath, right? To kind of break up a very conservative, like a slate gray. I think it would actually be a very beautiful eyelid color. We didn't get to touch on, I mean, the other part of fashion is kind of what we do with our face, right? And as a more of an evening, but as a accent for an eye, I think it would be very beautiful.
Yeah, I could see it with the heather gray or something. That would be gorgeous.
And if you have some dare, right? I could see it with the Kelly green.
Wow.
Right? So just some dare, right? But right? Yeah. I could see it with the Kelly green. I could see it with the Kelly green. Yeah.
Okay, but I could see it. I could definitely see it in corporate America. I could definitely see it in wearing it to work. That color is, to me, I think it's a great color. And I definitely see it as an eye color. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's work.
It's a great blend.
Yeah,
Can we go to?
Yeah, go ahead. Go to next.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, you were going to say it's not the.
What's the little children's character? The little.
Oh, Smurf.
The hippopotamus. I can't think of it. I have to think of my little cousins, but and we don't want to go down that route because we'll never recover if I start talking about them. But this
Barney.
is Barney. That's it. Thank you, Dina. Barney. That's it. Barney. It's not that Barney color. Yeah. Yes. So the it accessory. What is the it accessory, and how can we use it?
So what I saw and so what I tend to do, just so you kind of get a sense of how I'm coming up with these trends, is I tend to go back and look at the editorial around Fashion Week. I watch a lot of the shows. Actually, I was supposed to be in Paris this past February, but that got moved to September. So hopefully I have new content to share about the September shows. And then I just scroll through the pictures, right? And I like to look to see what is capturing my eye. I do think about the different women that I dress in terms of styling and kind of what they may like. And what stood out to me was this whole thought of headgear. And using scarves and kind of like this dressed up like this orange, this beautiful orange, which orange actually orange is my 2022 power color. For the longest, red used to be my power color, but I'm moving in the orange lane because I think there's just a boldness that comes with orange that is still professional. But what I loved on these two is just how they are using the headgear to really make those outfits unique. The first woman, I mean, basically she has on a skirt and a jacket, pretty, but that headgear really elevates it. The thing that I also like about it, back in my banking days, I had a ton of scarves. And I should say I still have them. I'm a big fan of keeping pieces that I love. But to be honest with you, I hadn't really been wearing them, and seeing the way headgear and scarves have been used on the runway this past fashion season, I will be doing more scarves with headgear. And actually in the summer, I saw some really cute ways to do scarves. And I just like the fact that it just accentuates a particular outfit in a very simple way. Now, is this something that you wear in the office? Probably not. But it's an elevated casual look that is quite nice.
So let's talk about this office thing, because most of our audience will most likely be professionals, or soon to be professionals. So how does this look? If you are in a law firm versus Chanel, how does this play for you? Can you wear the same in those two places?
Great question. So once again, I think it's read the room and look at the environment that you're actually working in, and how you see either where you want to be or where you are, and how those individuals are dressing, and how can you, because a part of it is being a part of the culture, right? And, I think as we grow, my style definitely evolved as my career evolved, right? So when I first came in, I was very conservative because quite honestly, I didn't know anything, right? But as I became more a leader in my own right, I started to see how I could take some fashion risks. But the risk that and to this day, I still look at, the leadership that I work for, but also where I want to be and how does that fit in. So you mentioned a law firm, which tends to still be fairly conservative in dress, right? And so I would say, how do you, like that leather jacket may be a great piece there because it was kind of conservative, but it had a little pop and wow to it, right? But what you want to do is understand how does it fit with your particular audience. If we're on the West Coast and you're in a tech startup where everybody wears khakis and it's interesting. I had a client and we were talking about that, right? Like, how do you as and we were speaking as a senior leader in an organization like that, right? Where you have a lot of junior individuals and you want to fit in, but you also want to create a leadership kind of presence. So how do you do that in khakis, right? And so some things to think about are maybe instead of the sneakers, maybe you're wearing a flat, or if you're still good with the heels, maybe there's a way to wear a really neat heel every now and then. Maybe instead of wearing a turtleneck, you're wearing a button down, or but really thinking, being thoughtful, right? About, you want to fit in, but you also want to show your distinction as a senior leader in that particular organization.
Mm-hmm. That's very good. Yeah. Because I have to just say, I'm a University of Alabama undergraduate, and I would not be called an orange. So that's like,
Okay.
hideous Tennessee orange. No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, orange is my new power color for 2022.
That's an ode to The Blind Side, the movie Blind Side. I don't look good in that orange.
Oh my gosh.
But that's just a running joke in my family, because we are huge.
I love so you wouldn't be doing the headgear hoodie look there. And she also has on the orange shoes. Okay.
And maybe in another color, but not that. I'm like the lady off of Blind Side. I can't be calling that hideous color. It doesn't look good in my color wheel. But no, the look is fine. What I've noticed is that you have a combination of different leathers, and that stuck out to me too. And this model, I'm liking the picture. She's an older woman. She's not that typical look. So I like the look. And it's an inspiration. It's not that I would wear the exact same thing, but it's an inspiration. Mm-hmm. Like I would most likely wear that blue leather skirt and match it with the very Perry sweater or something. I like those inspiration pieces and things like that. So I think that as well. And eventually I wanted to talk about some do's and don'ts. So I think if you are I think about the movie, The Devil Wears Prada, and the scene where, and I should have had that as an introduction to this, like where the young lady is trying to tell her supervisor, why does it matter? What does fashion? And she basically explains, like, we have an influence on the culture of what you see. We affect. And fashion does, and I know some people might think, oh, fashion does affect. And I think it's powerful to know that your brand speaks a lot, even in a casual way. It speaks a lot, about you. People are always watching. One of the things we say at the National Black MBA, we try to tell people is that people are always watching you. So when you go to work, or even if you're just walking in the parking lot, you need to be cognizant, especially if you're at the conference, you need to be cognizant of that, So,
and you know what, I'll say that is how I learned about style. I when I was at Spelman, I studied economics, and I was very fortunate to have a female instructor in accounting. And she was just an unbelievable dresser. She was very sharp in terms of knowing accounting, but she was clearly very, very, very focused on her presence as a woman leader. And watching her at that very early age in my career just helped me it gave me something to aspire to. At that point, I wasn't watching fashion shows or, thinking about it that way. But as a young person early in my career, it was helpful to see someone else. So yes, people do watch, and it's actually a really good thing.
That is very true. People do watch, and it does matter. And you wear the one, if you want to test it, you wear the wrong thing. And Before, let's talk about leggings. Do leggings, what do we think about leggings? Are leggings appropriate in the workplace?
Yeah, well, it's funny. So actually, I had on a pair of leggings today in the office. But what I did, I had on black. I had on black vegan leather, fat vegan leggings. But I actually paired them with a fairly long silk blouse. And the reason why I did the fairly long silk blouse, it wasn't a tunic, but it was more of a, I don't know, it wasn't tucked in. And where I'm going with that is for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable with the exposure of a leggings in the office without having aspects of me covered, right? But I would say read the room, read your body, read where you want to go and how you will look when you show up in your leggings. I don't think if it's an office setting where it's even on a business casual day, I do think leggings may be too casual and definitely with a very casual shoe. But I think if you are able to do a tunic or a longer sweater, then that could be appropriate. And the other thing of it too is COVID has redefined leggings and where they fit in our closet. But I believe we always want an elevated look. And so thinking about how to actually elevate your leggings.
I have worn leggings, and I agree. I have an over. I think you said it best that you said it best that you should have a lot of your body parts kind of covered, but I wore it with a over the knee boot, and
okay.
So I wore with an over the knee boot, a chunky over the knee boot, and my culture is a little bit more relaxed on a Friday, and I had an oversized sweater with it, with a big necklace, and I had a scarf. Ironically, infusing some color. Scarves for me infuse color when I have a monochromatic palette, and they work. And they can hide a multitude of sins if you don't have a necklace, a statement piece of a necklace or something.
Yes.
To me,
yes,
scarves can do that for you.
Yes.
And I have a ton of stars. Yes.
No, they do work. Yes.
They do. And I think, and I get a lot of compliments on it. And I'm like, it's really just a scarf, not a shirt. It's just a scarf. And it can. I was saying to my supervisor as I was planning this event, because I was telling him about it, I said, men just wear pants and shirt every day, pants, sweater, pants, turtleneck. Women have more to think about. We have things we have to think about the weather. We have to think about outfit. Will this outfit fit me post-COVID, during COVID? Oh, I can't wear this right now. I have to wait, maybe I can wear it. So it's not just, we have more. So fashion, that's one reason the National Black MBA, we wanted to do this event. And I just can't thank you enough for coming tonight to do it. But we can continue.
Okay, so I do, you raised a great point about what are my do's and my don'ts. Yes. And I wrote them down. I want to share them, right? Okay. I say, do wear what you love. Do make sure your clothes fit. Do read the room, right? Those are my do's, right? But my big don't is don't wear what doesn't make you feel good. Meaning don't wear shoes that hurt. Don't wear fabrics that are going to be uncomfortable. Don't wear styles that are going to have you pull it. Like a part of how you show up is the confidence factor that you have in your skin and in your clothes, right? And so I'm not a big fan of rules in terms of, don't wear white after Memorial Day or after Labor. Like, I'm not even focused on that. What I'm focused on is how does what you wear make you feel so it impacts how you show up, right?
Very true.
And we all, think about it. If we close our eyes and just think about, that outfit that we have in our closet that we know when we put that on, we looking fabulous.
It's very
we
true.
looking fabulous, right?
That's very true.
And it's like Superwoman, right? Like you can tackle anything. But we
Yeah.
also have those outfits where we put them on and we look like we're going, you know, to the grocery store, or we look like we're not at our best, right? And so what I would say is think about what is the look that's going to allow you to feel that you are looking and feeling your best.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Yes. I guess what I grew up with is don't wear something where you're gonna just be pulling and you're not comfortable, where it's just you're always pulling it back up, or you're adjusting yourself, and because that's not gonna work. If your style is, if you are pants and you don't really get down with skirts, you don't have to wear a skirt. That's how I feel. Don't wear a skirt. Wear what you feel that is comfortable, and then stand up straight. You know, that's gonna make you put your chest out and feel confident, because you're gonna really draw the light to you in the room. You're gonna really draw the light, and you're gonna emote confident. And then you don't need to be worried about your clothes as you're concentrating on your job and everything.
Yeah.
So and start with a good foundation. That's also my good thing. Take care of the foundation.
Foundations are key, and having a wardrobe of foundations, that's a whole nother session, but because not every foundation is the right foundation for what you're wearing, so you want to have that into play. So there are about three.
We have to cover that in part 2.
Yes, that's part. Yes, but now that we've inspired, yes, we'll get to. So there are about 3 slides I quickly want to make sure I touch on. So can we? So this is the whole thought of feminine tailoring. And once again, you know, she's wearing so the first is like lace. So lace was a thing on the runway, but lace being paired with a very masculine suited look was what they were doing, which I think is great. You know, when we think about the whole yin and the yang and the different energy that we're able to bring across, right? And so what I love about this model in the middle, and why I wanted to make sure that we showed that is a very uber conservative look, right?
Very.
But it's very sophisticated in how it's tailored. The other thing that she does, which I think is a great way of adding wow to a super conservative, is she's carrying a red bag. And it's not just any bag, it's an oversized bag, right? And so thinking about how do you use your accessories, right, to create moments in terms of your signature look. And of course, we know that this woman over here in her fabulous look. And but a reason why I wanted to show this is this, you know, it's a jacket, but it's a very embellished jacket, right? And so as we're thinking, and I'm hoping that people will come off of this session and be like, oh my gosh, I got to do suiting. I'm starting to do suiting. You know, don't forget about those very embellished looks, right? Rhinestones on your jacket, right? Not in every day, but remember when we were talking about you have your core pieces and you have your wow pieces. Well, this is a very much wow piece. So that whole thought of feminine tailoring.
So how could you incorporate that wow piece into, like, you may not wear a tulle skirt, but how could you wear that? And you know, could you take that to work and transition from office to evening? Or could you wear it during the office?
So what I think you could, the only thing that makes it a little challenge to wear in the office, but is you have a little midriff showing, right? But what you could do is you could have on a black dress underneath, very plain, so that you don't even see that midriff, right? But you still, that one may be a little challenge to take into work because it's so embellished. But I think it could be a really nice statement piece at a cocktail event, for a professional cocktail event.
That's true.
One of my jokes that I say about, you know, like networking events, this and that, like I always like to show up with a statement look. I never wear black because everybody wears black, right? So thinking about just how do you stand out, right? If someone shows up in that jacket, you're going to definitely stand out. So that's what I would do there.
I really love the book. I like that she has the red gloves with the oversized red clutch. That is nice. And that is if you are a more conservative, don't want to show my arms, that this is a great look. That's a very good look, and it fits you. And
or it could be a really interesting interview suit for a fashion type role, or a role where the company culture is not so structured, possibly, right? Or if you're interviewing for a CEO, right? One thing that I might do, if that's for a true interview suit, is I might bring the hemline up a little bit. And where I'm going with that is to make it look a little more everyday. But I think that could actually be a really interesting interview suit, quite honestly.
It's very powerful.
It's powerful. But it's conservative and powerful, and that's the piece that really makes it so. And she's doing something also that I like, is that her eyes are very dramatic, and so I mean that's a whole nother discussion. What we do with makeup, but I like the fact that she has on this very conservative, powerful look, and then she has these very dramatic eyes. And if you think about, so we started off this session talking about presence, right? The eyes say so much, right? And so she has this very, very kind of dark mascara on, but it adds to the power. So, oh, you guys don't see the slides, huh? They're not seeing the slides.
Don't see the slide. Okay, let's
all right. Let's go to the next slide. Let's see, is that
okay? Thank you for telling us. Can you see the slides?
Can you see
last
this one?
3. You can't see the last 3 slides?
Can you see this slide right now?
All right.
There are 4 images on it.
Yeah, can you see that slide? Okay, great.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to close out my Fashion Week review with what I found was so exciting, and I'm very excited about the diversity factor in fashion right now, and how the recognition that diverse designers are receiving. It's been a long time in the making, and I think it's just so wonderful to see these brands just really excel. So the first one is Sergio Hudson, and this is the designer that dressed Michelle Obama in that beautiful monochromatic look at the inauguration, and you can see he's still doing it with the colors there. But it's just wonderful. And his inspiration were actually 90s sitcom stories, which is kind of funny. But I think Sergio Hudson is definitely a designer, African-American, that is just really making a statement for women in fashion. I like that a lot of what he does is, once again, basically it's very buttoned down, right? It's not a lot of skin. It's kind of conservative, but look at that hat, and just even look at the color that he did it in. It's beautiful. The second one is Laquan, who from New York. He's actually from Queens. He still does a fair amount of his manufacturing in New York. A very amazing designer that is just really not only showing his talent, but really showing the industry what diversity can do. Once again, I said he's from Queens, New York. He talks about how he learned to sew from his family. I mean, just a really, a true story of someone that took their gifts around fashion and design and really creating beautiful works. This next designer, I did not know. And I'm blanking on the name now. I believe it's MB. I might be wrong on that. I'm sorry on that. But what I loved about this, and why I wanted to share it with this group, is that is another conservative dress. Like, I could see that in the office. The colors are loud, but not loud, right? The pattern is very beautiful. And if you look at the silhouette on that, it's fitting her body perfectly, right? And so as we're thinking about like ways to bring looks, like to me, that's one that could just be office to runway right now. I also really like the way it looks like there's a there is some type of tie around the neck, so that even adds more to the professional look there. It's not like anything I wear to an interview, but I can definitely see that being in a really nice day in the office. And I could also see where you could possibly take that from day to night. I think it buttons up, so you could probably open that up a bit and have a nice evening outfit as well. So kudos to that designer. And then the fourth one, Telfar. I mean, how many of you guys have gotten a Telfar bag? So Telfar is really not only his whole focus is fashion for everybody, right? And I'm saying it wrong. I think it's fashion for all. But what I love that what Telfar has done, he has changed the game on pre-order. And not only has he mastered the design aspects, but he's created a whole business model around basically getting people excited to buy off of dropping items at a particular time. So that's Telfar's bag. He's moved into ready wear for my business people that are looking at fashion in terms of just dynamic business models. I think Telfar has just really blown my mind, and just really excited to see that thought of fashion that he's producing.
I love him. Now I will say I love the young lady's abs. I have to say that.
I know, right?
I love her abs, but and I love that. I do like that bold red. Like, was it like a bolero shirt? I do like that. That's very powerful. And shout out to the designer, the first designer, because I really did like Michelle Obama's outfit on the inauguration, especially the jacket, the monochromatic wool jacket that she was able to wear in such a cold day. And the multicolored dress, I would wear something like that, and especially maybe use it year round and do it different ways. Like, especially in the winter, I would put maybe tights with it and a boot, pick up like it could go with a leather boot, or a suede boot. You can infuse color to the boot. And I like the young ladies, that the thick shirt that she's wearing. I don't know with the emblem. I like that.
Yes. Yep. That's the Telfar. Yep.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. Yeah, that was very nice. Very nice. It was very nice, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Now, thank you.
Thank you. And if we go to the next slide, this is just a challenge to the audience in terms of, okay, you've seen the trends. Now, how will you use these trends as you're thinking about your closet or how you want to show up, be it work or for play?
Yes, that is a good question. And, how, I look in, what are some easy transition from my office outfit to the evening look to a night? Do you have any suggestions that one could wear from transition from office to evening? Because there used to be a time before COVID, I knew you would go out and go to dinner, meet for drinks, especially in New York. It was, the city didn't shut down. A lot of times people were working till 10 o'clock at night, leaving their office. That's unusual for people who don't live in the tri-state area. I get it, but that wasn't unusual here. So, but what are some good transition looks instead of just the basic black?
Sure. So I think layering with the jacket is always nice, right? So you can do your jacket in the office. This is something I do a lot. And then for the evening, maybe you have a more decorative sleeve, or maybe you have no sleeve at all, right? And so I think that is a nice way. The other thing that I tend to do a lot is with textured hose, right? It's easy to put a really funky pair of textured looking hose or hosiery with a pattern in your bag and then changing it before you go out just to create a whole different look. The other thing too is you can do something with your accessories, right? So you can change up your handbag. Maybe you're carrying a briefcase during the day. Maybe you put a animal print clutch for the evening to kind of create a look. And then I would lastly say going back to what you do with your makeup, right? And also your earrings. Definitely playing around with your jewelry. And the reason why I like thinking about your hosiery, your jewelry, and even your bag, these are things that you can easily carry with you, right? So that you can do the change up without having to carry a whole nother set of clothes, and still create a really wonderful evening look.
Are there any items that's just that are not on trend that you said don't do that? There's some items that now we've left behind. We're not going to take forward in this season. Is there anything in your closet that you're excited to wear for this upcoming season?
Oh, okay. So one thing that I'm trying not to do, I'm really trying not to wear any more sweatpants. I think I've worn a ton of sweatpants during, no, seriously, I think I've worn a ton of sweatpants during COVID. So I'm really not trying to wear any of those anymore. So 3 things that I'm excited to wear. The first one is I have a few girls trips planned. So I'm looking forward, well, I say girls trip, I have a beach girls trip planned. So I'm looking forward to wearing colorful, kind of off the shoulder cover-ups, fun swimwear, excited about that. The other thing that I'm looking forward to wearing is, I think the whole thought of suiting, I don't know, I kind of keep talking about it, but to be honest with you, after I left banking, I stopped wearing suits. So now that they're back in vogue, and I had an event this past weekend, and actually, one of my dear friends is on here now. And I was telling her, I was looking for actually a pastel colored suit, because I wanted to I wanted to do a suit, but I wanted to do more of a spring color. I didn't find it, but that's okay. And then the third thing, during COVID, I took up a hobby that hopefully I'll get to share more with you guys, and that is hats. And so I am so looking forward to sporting my millinery styles as I continue to do more and more out and about. So this is one of the hats I created. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that.
Someone is asking, is pastel suits for spring? Are we going to see pastel suits for spring?
Yes, we're seeing them now. I just couldn't find one that fit. So I am 5'4", and one of the challenges with suiting is a lot of the suits look way too boxy on me. So or overpowering, right? But I did see a lot of great pastel colored suits. They just weren't the right cut for me.
Mm-hmm. I think I may not wear a true pastel suit. I might break it up, but it depends. Like I might wear it to church, but at this office, I may not wear a total pastel. That's just me though. But it's just me.
Well, no, once again, reading the room, I think a total pastel would be a challenge unless you're like in a really creative environment, right? Mm-hmm. But the event that I was looking to wear it at was more of a business casual. And I knew everybody was going to wear black, so I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different and on trend. I just couldn't find that.
When you were dressing some of the C-suite executives, what are some things that you try to steer them to or steer them away from?
So one of the conversations I try and really have with women before I start working with them is to get a sense of what is it that they want to do professionally with the individuals that they work with. And where I'm going with that is a lot of what I hear is wanting to create a sense of openness and wanting to be approachable in the office, right? And so thinking about clothing that will create that. So going back to the example of, my tech executive that everybody's wearing khakis, and she wants to create a presence, but she doesn't necessarily want to look like everybody else wearing the khakis, right? And so they're thinking about ways to create a more approachable look. I've also had conversations with women that are aspiring to be in the C-suite, and so helping them to plan out, and let's face it, you may not have the C-suite budget, right? And so coming up with ways to buy the particular items that will enhance your wardrobe in terms of the core pieces, right? And even having a discussion about buying secondhand, and understanding where to shop and to do that. One of the things that COVID has inspired me to do is to actually shop more thrift, quite honestly, because I realized that there's so much in my closet that I don't use, that I didn't want to continuously contribute to adding more and more to landfills. And so I find myself more and more looking at secondhand items.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, if there's anybody that has questions, please put them in the chat. We still have a few more minutes. And if you're interested in joining us we still have some more time. If you're interested in coming on and getting a personal consultation, I know I've had people say, hey, if you've ever doing a makeover, let me know. This is your opportunity, because Jacqueline is one of the key people you would want to talk to. So I invite you to please just jump in and put it in the chat and let me know, and I'll be happy to see if I can facilitate that. We've talked about do's and don'ts. We've talked about reading a room, and you've talked about the things that you're excited to wear. Hats. In New York, I noticed that a lot of people wear black. Wear black. And we're about to move to spring. Are there any, if you're shopping for a coat, what is is there a color that you could try to use other than black or gray? Because a lot of people just wear black.
So New York, the outerwear is a key piece in your wardrobe, because it's going to be cold, right? And so I think things like lipstick pink are pretty cool colors to have as a coat. Pastel blue is the blue of this measuring tape is a great, right? And the reason why I like to have coats or outerwear with some type of pop or flare is it just makes it easy then to wear something very basic underneath, but you still look really amazing. So, as we're going into spring, oh my goodness, I did go shopping about 2 weeks ago, and when I was looking for the pastel suit, and one of the things that I saw that was so adorable was a lavender raincoat. And so, so once again, it was kind of
that Very Perry, kind of.
It was a version of Very Perry, but it was true lavender. It was very feminine. But it would pair absolutely beautiful with the gray. You could do it with a black and to create a wonderful wow, right? Or you can do it monochromatic, or with very, very Perry, right? So definitely some of the springy pastel colors are definitely on trend.
Yes, I like when you said, like, I have gone to thrift stores, especially in some of the nice, finer neighborhoods, and we found remarkable things. I have a best friend who did a whole fashion show in Chicago, just out of finds that she's very creative, just unbelievable. And she did a whole fashion show, and it was just jaw-dropping. It was amazing. She did it in Chicago. And it was just fantastic. She did everything. So I do know that you can find some amazing things out of the thrift stores, because fashion doesn't have to be so expensive. Do you believe in doing the high-low? Some people do high-low.
Absolutely. And
would you talk about what is that? What is that? Some people may not know what the high-low is.
Oh, great point. So high-low is an expensive designer and a pair of pants from a Target, all in the same look, right? Or wearing, Gucci shoes with, pants from Target, so it's really mixing up the price points. But I think the other thing about high-low that is really great, it just gives you a chance to expand your wardrobe, right? Like one of the things that I also said coming out of COVID, like there were so many clothes that I would like save for like the perfect occasion. No more saving outfits, right? And so by doing the high-low, like one of the things I've been doing, I've been wearing sequins in the daytime, more as casual. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sequins in the daytime. But, I have a sequin skirt that I wear with sneaks. And it's just it's a casual, fun look. I wouldn't do that for the office, but I definitely would do it for a Sunday brunch, right? And so kind of just mixing up, day wear with evening wear, right? Fashion does not have to be about a role. It's more about what you feel and the image that you want to go for.
Wow, I had never thought about a sequin during the daytime, or wearing it to the office. But
I'll say this, I would not wear my sequins to the office during the day, but I would do a Sunday brunch in sequins, or I have done Sunday brunch in sequins.
Oh wow! See, that's fine. That is fantastic, because I tend to be kind of conservative. But let's talk about this before we say goodbye. I want to touch on this. So with COVID, a lot of people have the COVID bulge. What are some key items that they could put in their wardrobe to help them as they transition? Because maybe they can't find that suit. They can't fit that suit that they put to the back during COVID, and they can only do the shirt portion of it, or do a sweater, on top. What are some key items that people can add to their wardrobe to be professional as they get back to the gym and the walking and the working out, and to them finding themselves again?
So what I am seeing a lot of, and this is a great question because we're all trying to figure this out, right? That more flared wide leg pant and waistband that is elastic. I've seen more of those in stores and online, right? And so those are great, right? You can dress those up, you can dress those down. The thing that I actually like about suiting, quite honestly, is suiting hides a lot of COVID whatever, because it's not fitted, right? So instead of maybe doing a short bolero size jacket, they're not even in style. Well, I should say they're not style. They're not quote unquote trend. The suits that are on trend are the longer ones, which works great. The jackets that are longer, which works great with dealing with COVID. Tunic tops are also very nice, right?
That's true.
And I always say, instead of wearing a t-shirt, wear a tunic. Right?
That's
because
true.
it kind of elevates the look, but it's also a really great camouflage. Last night we touched on in the 20-minute fashion distraction, motorcycle jackets. Those are on trend, right? And so things that could possibly cover you, but still really create a really stylish look.
Well, that is fantastic. So we've learned tonight that we don't really have to give up the leather. Leather is a key item in our closet. Fringe items will be on trend this year. With the very Perry, if you can, that's a bold color, a rich color that even will transition you into the spring. It'll take you, because it does pick up the lilac and things of that nature. So it does have we can do that. And we should really pay attention to reading the room and about what we wear. I know that when I first graduated from college, funny story, I applied for a job as an assistant store manager for Limited Express. And I went and bought a Limited Express suit. And I got hired. So I was wearing the brand. And we have some people who may be trying to get into some of those designer houses. Are there some jewels that maybe you can drop for them?
Well, I think you just dropped the biggest one, and it is to look like the brand, right? People people hire people, right? And but they hire people that look like they're going to understand. And with the whole focus on diversity, don't get me wrong, there definitely have been issues with hiring like, right? But what I'm talking about is if the culture, like if you want to work at Chanel, then you need to have that tailored looks, almost very structured look. That's what Chanel is, right? Although Chanel is kind of evolving too, but pretty much that's what Chanel is, right? But if you are in an environment that is a little more casual and people are a little more daring with their style, and you may see somebody with the faux leather green in the middle of the day and it's okay, then definitely go for it. I think that the key takeaway is to really read the room and see how you fit. But I would also add your signature to it, right? Because you don't want to blend in that people don't remember you, right? People remember things that stand out.
How important is a tailor? Like a lot of men will go get their suits tailored, but how important is a tailor?
Key. Fit is key. Fit is very important. What fit does, fit makes an outfit look expensive. If it's the right fit, it can look like an expensive item, right? If it's the right fit, it can give you a sense of confidence because it's going to help you with how you actually look when you're presenting, right? So yes, a tailor is key. And if you're going to do any secondhand shopping, you definitely need a good tailor, right? Because a lot of times it's not going to fit you, but it could be an amazing outfit. And so one of the things I do, this is a secondhand shopping tip, I look at the price that I pay for it, and then I kind of anticipate in my mind, what is it going to cost me to actually get it to fit the way I want it to? But yes, having a tailor is key. And what is a good tailor? A tailor that is willing to take the time to understand your body type, to understand how you like your garments to fit. And in some ways can actually be creative. Like about a month ago, I went to my first gala post-COVID, and I needed a mask. And I had and I wasn't thinking about him making it, but I got my gown shortened, and I was going to take the material and I was going to go try and get a mask made. And he took the material and he made a mask for me. And so we have, he's been my tailor for the last 4 years. He understands how I like my, look to be. And so having a good tailor is definitely important, because once again, a tailored look is it's a very polished look.
Yeah. I have personally purchased a cheaper suit and had it tailored. And it was like my it was like my fourth suit at the conference. It was like I could mix it in, and I tailored it, and it just worked wonderful, because I couldn't find the color I wanted, but I found it at a cheaper store, and I had it tailored because it was and it still works. It still works.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Jacqueline, thank you so much. We've covered a lot, and we've covered a lot. We've learned that as a good tailor we need to develop a relationship, just like we develop a relationship with our mechanic. We need a good tailor. We learned that the foundation is, you start with a good foundation, it can carry you a lot. You don't have to just wear a monochromatic, and that the suits are going to play a big part, but the color is going to be color infused. We're going to see the monochromatics. We're going to see different textures out there. We're going to see a brocade, and you can mix and match that. I would think you don't have to just wear the full suit, and you can match it. And you said the staple items we need to have are A-line skirt and a pencil skirt. In addition, I'm sure there's a black skirt or solid blue skirt or some of the earth tones in there. This is wonderful. This has been very exciting. I know it's been past the 20-minute distraction, but you can catch Jacqueline every Wednesday at 8:30 on Facebook. It's on The Fashion Distraction comes on Facebook and any other social media.
It comes on Facebook, on the Sophisticated Curation page.
Yes. So I invite everybody to go to Sophisticated Curation on Facebook, like her page, and every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern time, because we have people on here who are Central Time and Pacific, to please like her page, and you can get some fashion tips. And you never know, she may invite you on, or you may just, this is an actual image consultant that you can speak to for, and if you have a big interview or something, because we are at the National Black MBA, we often try to help people get ready for the conference. We have one of the largest job fairs out there, and so image is one of the things that we're touching, which is one reason we wanted to bring this out tonight. And we will look to do a part 2, and you should really stay tuned, and you should go to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like the Metro New York National Black MBA web page, because you can see a lot of our events, and you'll see more coming from our chapter as well. So thank you so much. I know we've said we were going to go to 9, but we, and Marvin has put your link into the chat. So if anybody wanted to go to Sophisticated Curation, everyone needs the Marvin basketballs in their life. Please go, and we thank you. On behalf of the Metro New York chapter, our president, Norva Barrington, and my fellow board members, we thank you, Jacqueline, for bringing your expertise tonight. And we look forward to everyone coming out to more events. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight and have a great evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, then. Good night.
Good night.